What's growing on, gardeners? On today's 2-minute garden tip, I'm going to discuss why tomatoes take so long to ripen and address a tragic mistake many gardeners make in their quest for ripe fruit. Contrary to popular belief, tomatoes do not ripen by sun touching the fruits. They actually ripen by manufacturing and releasing a compound called ethylene gas. When released, the ethylene gas will begin breaking down the natural bitter tannins inside the fruit, which will help them change pigment and develop sugars. This is precisely why you can continue to ripen most fruits out on your countertops. They will give off their own ethylene gas and self-ripen. In fact, when you cluster fruits together, they will concentrate more ethylene gas around that area, so clusters of fruit will ripen faster than lone fruits in isolation. On another note, leaving them in the sun actually slows down the ripening process. You should leave your fruits on the counter in total shade. This time of year, I'm inundated with frustrated gardeners leaving comments asking, how can I speed up the ripening process of my tomatoes? And many of them make a tragic mistake. They start removing the leaves from their plants, thinking that this will speed up the process by putting the tomato fruits in sun. This is the worst thing that you could do, and it needs to stop. Plants' leaves are effectively solar panels. They absorb the solar radiation and they convert it into sugars, which the plants then use as energy. So when you remove a plant's leaves, you're actually removing solar panels from the array, and they can collect less energy, so it slows them down. Furthermore, you're hacking the plants to pieces, which is very stressful on the plants, which further sends them into shock and slows down their progress. Leaves actually prevent sunburn of the fruit. So when you remove the leaves, you're actually making the fruit susceptible to sun scald. Fruits that ripen in direct sunlight are more likely to have tough skins. Fruits that ripen in the shade protected by the leaves are more likely to have thinner, more tender skin. So shade-ripened tomatoes are superior in taste and texture. So what exactly can you do to make your fruits ripen more quickly? Well, there are 3 things that kind of work. The first thing you can do is a process called topping your tomato plants, which basically means to behead them, to snip them up here to stop the vegetative growth, because the idea is if the plants stop growing up, they will be able to use more of their energy to simply ripen the fruit instead of putting roughly half their energy into growing new vines and leaves. The second thing is you can just remove some of the fruits on the plants, because the theory is the less fruits on the plants, the less fruit the tomato plant then has to concentrate energy to ripen. So it takes that pizza pie of energy and it cuts it into smaller slices. The less fruits on your plant, the faster each one will ripen. And the third thing you can do is to harvest any tomato that is just starting to flush color and bring it inside on your countertop in the shade next to some bananas and apples very close to each other, because they will release a lot of ethylene gas together and help speed up the ripening process. And of course, this will also work well with the second tip, because you'll be removing more fruits from your tomato plants, so therefore there will be less fruits and they will all ripen faster on the vine. It is not necessary to let your tomatoes fully ripen on the vine. You can pick them when they're about 20 to 25% ripe and then just bring them inside onto your countertop into the shade and let them finish ripening there. They will be just as good, and then you run a much lower risk of them being damaged by pests when they become sweeter and more attractive to insects. But honestly, the best thing you can do is nothing. Just be patient and allow your tomatoes to ripen on their own. It is the best thing for the tomato plants, and it will stress them out the least, and you will get the biggest harvest in the long run. For future years, if you want earlier tomatoes, I suggest planting some determinate tomatoes and some cherry tomatoes, because they will ripen much more quickly and earlier in the season. That way you can get your tomato fix in while you're waiting for the larger beefsteak indeterminates to finish ripening. And that's today's 2-minute garden tip.
If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell to receive new video notifications, and check out our Amazon storefront and spread shop in the video description for a list of the gardening products I use and awesome custom designed apparel and other gear. Your support is greatly appreciated.